Welcome to Strong Mind Stories, where we explore real human strength, the kind that comes from overcoming mental battles, life setbacks, and the challenges that try to break us. If that speaks to you, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a story. I actually read every comment, so drop your thoughts below, and if you have a story idea or a challenge you'd love to see explored, I want to hear it. Let's get into today's story. The empty passenger seat. Leon Reeves stood in his son's bedroom 6 months after the funeral, holding a baseball glove that had never been used. He'd bought it years ago, when Daniel was 10, before the diagnosis, before the wheelchair, before everything changed. "Dad, can we play catch?" Daniel had asked that afternoon, holding the new glove, excited. "This weekend, buddy. I have to finish the Johnson project." But that weekend, Daniel had complained about leg pain. And the weekend after that, he'd fallen twice. And by the time the diagnosis came, muscular dystrophy, playing catch was already becoming difficult. They'd never used the glove. Leon set it back on the shelf, walked out of the room, and closed the door. Like he did every day, because entering was unbearable, but leaving the door open was worse. His wife, Teresa, found him in the kitchen, staring at nothing. "Leon, we need to talk." "Not now. It's been 6 months. You haven't been back to work. You barely leave the house. You need help." "I'm fine." "You're not fine. You stand in Daniel's room for an hour every day. You watch videos of him on your phone all night. You won't talk to anyone. This isn't grief, Leon. This is, what would you call it then?" His voice was sharp. "Our son died. I'm grieving. That's normal. It's been 6 months, and you haven't moved forward at all. You're stuck. And I'm worried about you." Leon felt anger flash through him. "Daniel's been dead 6 months, and you want me to move on? To what? To pretending he never existed?" "That's not what I'm saying." "Then what are you saying?" Teresa's eyes filled with tears. "I'm saying I lost my son too. But I feel like I'm losing my husband. You're here, but you're not here. You won't talk to me about Daniel. You won't talk about anything. It's like you died with him." Leon turned away. He knew she was hurting too. Knew she needed him. But there was nothing left to give. The grief was so heavy it crushed everything else. "I can't do this right now," he said quietly. Teresa was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Morrison recommended a grief counselor, someone who specializes in complicated bereavement. "I think you should call." "I don't need a therapist." "Then what do you need?" "Because this," she gestured at him, at the closed bedroom door, at the house that had become a mausoleum. "This isn't working." After she left for work, Leon sat with his phone, scrolling through videos of Daniel. There were hundreds of them. Daniel at 10, running in the backyard. Daniel at 11, riding his bike. Daniel at 12, before the diagnosis, still healthy, still whole. And then the videos changed. Daniel in the wheelchair. Daniel struggling to lift his arms. Daniel's voice getting weaker. Daniel in the hospital bed at home, near the end, trying to smile for the camera. The last video was from 2 days before Daniel died. His body wasted by the disease, but his eyes still bright. "I love you, Dad," Daniel had whispered, his voice barely audible. "Don't be sad. I'll be okay." Leon watched the video for the 100th time and felt the familiar wave. Not grief exactly. Grief was too simple a word. This was a complex storm of guilt and rage and sorrow and emptiness all tangled together. Guilt that he'd worked too much when Daniel was healthy. That he'd missed Little League games. That he'd said "this weekend" too many times. That he'd had so many years with his son and hadn't appreciated them until they were gone. Rage at the disease. At God. At the universe. At doctors who couldn't fix it. At his own helplessness watching his son deteriorate. Sorrow so deep it felt like drowning. Like he'd never feel anything else again. And emptiness. The worst part. The vast nothing where Daniel used to be. Leon called the grief counselor. Not because he thought it would help, but because he was tired of seeing Teresa cry. Dr. Sarah Brennan's office was quiet, comfortable, designed to be calming. Leon sat on the couch feeling like an imposter. Like he was wasting her time. "Tell me about Daniel," Dr. Brennan said. Leon was surprised. Most people avoided mentioning Daniel, like saying his name would make things worse. Leon's voice caught. He was everything. Smart. Funny. Kind. He wanted to be a marine biologist. Loved the ocean even though we lived in Colorado, and he'd only seen it twice. "Tell me about the diagnosis." Leon described it. The initial symptoms. The devastating diagnosis at 12. The 3 years of slow decline. The final 6 months in hospice care at home. I took leave from work to care for him, Leon said. Toward the end, I needed to be there. Every day, every moment. That was a gift. Being present. It wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. Dr. Brennan was quiet for a moment. Leon, what you're experiencing is called complicated grief. It's different from typical bereavement. How? Typical grief is painful, but it gradually lessens. People find ways to integrate the loss into their lives. They remember their loved one with both sadness and joy. They can engage with the world again. She paused. Complicated grief is when you get stuck. When the acute pain doesn't ease. When you can't accept the death. When the grief interferes with your ability to function. So I'm grieving wrong. You're grieving intensely. And there are reasons for that. Losing a child is one of the most traumatic losses. Watching a long illness is its own trauma. And from what you're telling me, there's significant guilt mixed with the grief. Leon felt defensive. I did everything I could for him. I believe you did. But you're carrying guilt about the years before the diagnosis. About time you didn't spend with him. About moments you missed. I should have been there more. Before. When he was healthy. And if you could go back, you would make different choices. But Leon, you can't. And holding on to that guilt doesn't honor Daniel. It just keeps you stuck in the past, unable to move forward. Moving forward feels like leaving him behind. That's the core fear with complicated grief. That moving forward means forgetting. That healing means betrayal. But that's not true. You can carry Daniel with you while still living your life. Leon didn't believe her. But he kept coming back. Because Teresa had asked. Because he had nothing else to do. Over several sessions, Dr. Brennan helped Leon understand his grief. The complicated layers. The way guilt and grief were tangled together. The avoidance patterns. Refusing to go to Daniel's favorite places. Keeping his room frozen in time. Watching videos instead of engaging with the present. You're preserving everything exactly as it was, Dr. Brennan said. As if changing anything would erase him. But Leon, Daniel isn't in that bedroom. He's not in those videos. He's in your heart. In your memories. You can honor him while still living. I don't know how to do that. Have you considered doing something meaningful? Something that connects you to Daniel, but moves you forward? Not to get over him. You'll never get over losing your son. But to integrate the loss. To find meaning in it. Leon thought about this. Like what? That's for you to decide. Some parents create foundations. Some volunteer. Some do things their child wanted to do, but couldn't. That night, Leon opened Daniel's computer for the first time since he died. It felt like violating a sacred space. But he needed to understand. Daniel's desktop background was a photo of the Pacific Ocean. His browser history showed searches, best places to see whales, marine biology programs, ocean conservation. Leon found a folder labeled Someday. Inside were dozens of bookmarked articles. Marine sanctuaries in California. Tide pools in Oregon. The Monterey Bay Aquarium. Whale watching in Washington. Places Daniel had wanted to visit. Had researched. Had dreamed about. Places he'd never got to see. Leon sat with this for a long time. An idea forming. At his next session, he told Dr. Brennan, I want to take a road trip. To the Pacific coast. To the places Daniel wanted to visit, but couldn't. I don't know why exactly. But I feel like I need to do this. For him. Or for me. Both maybe. Dr. Brennan nodded slowly. That could be healing. A way to honor him while engaging with the world. But Leon, I want you to be intentional about it. This isn't about running away from grief. It's about moving through it. What's the difference? Running away is avoidance. It's trying to escape the pain. Moving through is feeling the pain while still choosing to live. Can you do that? I don't know, but I want to try. Teresa was uncertain when Leon told her. A road trip? Leon, you barely leave the house. I know, but I found Daniel's list. Places he wanted to see. The ocean. Marine sanctuaries. I want to go there. For him. You can't live for him, Leon. He's gone. The word stung. But Leon knew she was right. I'm not trying to live for him. I'm trying to, I don't know, find a way to honor him. To remember him without being destroyed by it. Teresa studied his face. Dr. Brennan thinks this is a good idea? She thinks it could be. If I approach it right. How long would you be gone? 2 weeks maybe. I'll drive up the coast from San Diego to Seattle. Visit the places on his list. I need to do this, Teresa. I need to move. To do something. I can't keep sitting in this house replaying the past. Teresa's eyes filled with tears. Okay. But Leon, come back. Really come back. Not just physically. I need my husband back. Leon packed the car, Daniel's list, a notebook Dr. Brennan had suggested he keep, some of Daniel's things. Not to bring him along, Dr. Brennan had cautioned, but to feel connected. He packed the baseball glove, the one they'd never used. It felt important somehow. The drive to San Diego took 2 days. Leon stayed in cheap motels, ate fast food, listened to music Daniel had loved. Every song was a memory. Every memory was a wound. But he kept driving. San Diego was the first stop on Daniel's list. The ocean. Daniel had been 7 the first time he saw it. Had run into the waves laughing, fearless. Leon stood on the beach at sunset, watching the waves. Families were playing in the sand. Kids running. Exactly what Daniel used to do. The grief hit like a physical blow. He'd never see Daniel run again. Never hear him laugh like that. Never watch him grow up, go to college, get married, have kids. All of it was gone. Leon felt rage building. Wanted to scream at the ocean, at God, at the unfairness of it all. But he remembered Dr. Brennan's words. Feel the pain. Don't run from it. But don't let it consume you either. Leon sat in the sand and cried. Deep, wrenching sobs. The kind he'd been holding back for months because they felt too big, too overwhelming. He cried until he was empty, then sat in the silence, watching the sun set. And in that emptiness, a memory surfaced. Not the painful ones. Not Daniel sick, but Daniel at 7, running into these same waves, turning to shout, Dad, come in. It's amazing. Leon had been on his phone. Work email. Had waved Daniel on without joining him. The guilt was immediate. Crushing. Another moment wasted. But then, another memory. A different beach trip. When Daniel was 9, Leon had put his phone away. Had played in the waves with his son for an hour. Building sandcastles. Riding boogie boards. Daniel's laughter echoing. I did show up sometimes, Leon whispered to the waves. Not enough. But sometimes. It was a small shift. But important. That night in his motel room, Leon wrote in the notebook Dr. Brennan had given him. Day 1, San Diego. The beach Daniel loved. I cried for an hour. But I also remembered a good day. A day I was present. I can't undo the days I wasn't. But I did have some good days with him. That matters. That has to matter. The next day, Leon drove to the Birch Aquarium, another place on Daniel's list. Walked through exhibits about marine life, ocean conservation, ecosystems. Daniel would have loved this. Would have read every placard. Asked 100 questions. Leon felt the familiar emptiness. Daniel should be here. This was supposed to be for him. But Daniel wasn't here. Would never be here. Leon almost left. Almost got back in the car and drove home. But something made him stay. He walked through slowly, reading what Daniel would have read, looking at what Daniel would have seen. At the kelp forest exhibit, Leon stopped. Watched the fish swimming through the tall seaweed. The ecosystem thriving. A placard explained how kelp forests support marine life. How they're vital to ocean health. How they need protection. Daniel had wanted to protect this. Had dreamed of being a marine biologist who made a difference. Leon pulled out his phone. Googled marine conservation organizations. Found one dedicated to kelp forest restoration. He made a donation. In Daniel's name. $500. It wouldn't bring his son back. Wouldn't change anything. But it felt like honoring Daniel's dream. Like doing something that mattered. Leon wrote in the notebook. Day 2. Made a donation for kelp forest conservation in Daniel's name. It's not much. But it's something he would have cared about. Maybe that's how I honor him. Not by preserving everything frozen. But by continuing what he cared about. The trip continued. Up the California coast. Monterey Bay Aquarium. Daniel's #1 bucket list item. Leon spent a full day there, watching the otters Daniel would have loved, the jellyfish, the massive kelp forest tank. He cried in the jellyfish exhibit. Felt joy watching the otters. Both emotions at once. Grief and beauty coexisting. At tide pools near Big Sur, Leon sat on the rocks, watching small marine life in the pools. Remembered Daniel at 10, fascinated by a starfish he'd found in a tide pool in Oregon. Look, Dad, did you know starfish can regrow their arms? Leon had been distracted. Work stress. Had nodded absently. The guilt came. But this time, Leon caught it. Asked himself what Dr. Brennan had taught him. Is this guilt productive? Or is it just punishment? It was punishment. Replaying a moment he couldn't change. Leon chose differently. Let himself remember the starfish. Daniel's wonder. The way his eyes had lit up. You loved the ocean, Leon said aloud to the tide pool, to Daniel, to the universe. You would have done amazing things. The grief was still there, but something else was there too. Gratitude for the they'd had, for the moments he did show up, for Daniel's curiosity and joy and spirit. Leon wrote, Day 6, Tide Pools. Remember Daniel and the starfish. I'm starting to understand something. The guilt is my way of staying connected to him. If I feel guilty, I'm still in relationship with him somehow. But Dr. Brennan was right. That guilt doesn't honor him. Remembering his joy does. In Oregon, Leon stopped at a marine sanctuary Daniel had researched. Took a whale watching tour. Didn't see any whales, but sat on the boat, feeling the ocean spray, watching the water. Daniel had wanted to do this. Had researched it extensively. Had printed out information about gray whale migration patterns. He'd never gotten the chance. Leon felt the grief, but also something else. A sense of doing this for both of them. Experiencing what Daniel couldn't. That night, he called Teresa. How is it? She asked. Hard. Beautiful. Both. Leon paused. I'm learning something. What? That I can remember Daniel with joy. Not just pain. That it's okay to feel both. That honoring him doesn't mean staying stuck in the moment he died. Teresa was quiet. Then, I'm glad. I've been so worried about you. I know. I'm sorry. For shutting you out. For everything. Just come home, Leon. Come home different than you left. I'm trying. In Washington, Leon reached the final stop, the Olympic coast. Daniel's last item on the list. Someday, I want to see the Pacific Northwest coast. The wild beaches. The tide pools. The whales. Leon stood on a remote beach. Waves crashing, wind whipping. This was it. The end of Daniel's list. The end of the journey. Leon pulled out the baseball glove. The one they'd never used. He'd carried it the whole trip, not sure why. But standing on this beach, he understood. The glove represented everything he'd meant to do with Daniel, but hadn't. All the somedays that never came. All the plans interrupted by disease and death. Leon could carry that regret forever. Could let it define the rest of his life. Or he could choose differently. He looked at the glove for a long time. Then he set it on a piece of driftwood, like a small memorial. I'm sorry we never played catch, Leon said aloud. I'm sorry for all the somedays I wasted. But Daniel, I'm also grateful. For the days we had. For who you were. For all the years of being your father. He took a photo of the glove on the driftwood. Then he walked away, leaving it on the beach. Letting go, not of Daniel, but of the guilt. The endless replay of what he should have done differently. He couldn't change the past, but he could choose how he carried it. That night, Leon wrote the longest entry in his notebook. Day 13, Olympic coast. Left the baseball glove on the beach. I think I understand now what Dr. Brennan was trying to tell me. I've been holding on to guilt because it felt like the only way to stay connected to Daniel. Like if I stopped feeling guilty, I'd lose him completely. But that's not true. I carry Daniel in my memories. In my love for him. In the ways he changed me. The guilt doesn't honor him. It just keeps me stuck. I can't undo the moments I missed. Can't go back and play catch or attend the baseball games I skipped for work. But I can be grateful for the moments I did have. For the beach trips. For the starfish. For the laughter and curiosity and love. Daniel didn't want me to be stuck. He said, don't be sad, in his last video. He wanted me to be okay. And being okay doesn't mean forgetting him. It means living in a way that honors him. I think I'm ready to try that now. The drive home took 3 days. Leon felt different. Not healed. Grief didn't work that way. He'd never stopped missing Daniel. Never stopped wishing for more time. But the grief felt different now. Less suffocating. Less tangled with guilt and rage. More like a weight he could carry instead of drowning under. He stopped in Colorado Springs. Visited Daniel's grave for the first time since the funeral. Before, he couldn't face it. The grave felt too final. Too real. Now, Leon knelt beside the headstone. Read the inscription, Daniel James Reeves. Beloved son, dreamer of oceans. I went to the places you wanted to see, Leon said quietly. The coast. The aquariums. The tide pools. I saw them for both of us. The grief was there. Always would be. But so was gratitude. Thank you for teaching me about starfish and kelp forests. For your curiosity. For your spirit. For being my son. I'm so grateful I got to be your dad. He sat there for an hour. Crying. Remembering. Feeling the full weight of the loss without being crushed by it. Then he went home. Teresa was in the kitchen when he arrived. She looked nervous. Hopeful. Hi, Leon said. Hi. She searched his face. How are you? Different. Better, I think. Not fixed, but better. Teresa hugged him and Leon let himself be held. Really held. For the first time in months. I'm sorry, he said. For shutting you out. For being so stuck. You lost Daniel too, and I abandoned you. You were grieving. I was. But I was also avoiding. Avoiding you. Avoiding life. Avoiding everything except the guilt and pain. Leon pulled back to look at her. I want to try differently now. What does that mean? It means going back to Dr. Brennan. Working on the grief. Actually talking to you about Daniel. Not hiding in his room or watching videos all night. It means trying to live. Not because I've forgotten him, but because I want to honor him by actually being present in my life. Teresa's eyes filled with tears. I've missed you so much. I've missed me too. That night, Leon opened Daniel's bedroom door. Walked in for the first time in months. He looked at everything. The marine biology posters. The books about oceans. The collection of shells from their beach trips. Teresa appeared in the doorway. What are you doing? Looking. Really looking. Not just standing here drowning in guilt. Leon picked up one of the shells, a perfect sand dollar. I want to create something. A memorial. Not a frozen room. But something that celebrates who Daniel was. Together, they started planning. They'd donate Daniel's clothes. Keep meaningful items. Turn the room into a space that honored Daniel while being functional. Maybe a reading room, filled with books about the ocean. A place to remember him without it being a shrine. We could frame some of his drawings, Teresa suggested. Daniel had loved to draw marine life. And create a scholarship, Leon added. For kids who want to study marine biology. In Daniel's name. It felt right. Not moving on, but moving forward. Carrying Daniel with them in a way that created meaning. Leon continued therapy with Dr. Brennan. The grief was still there, would always be there. But it was no longer complicated. No longer stuck. I'm learning to hold both, Leon told her in a session. The grief and the gratitude. The loss and the love. Daniel's death doesn't erase his life. And honoring his life doesn't require me to stay frozen in the worst moment. That's integration, Dr. Brennan said. That's healthy grief. It still hurts. But it doesn't destroy you. I miss him every day. You always will. But now you can miss him while still living. That's the shift. 6 months after the road trip, Leon was ready to return to work. Not because he'd gotten over Daniel's death, he never would, but because he'd learned to carry the grief instead of being paralyzed by it. His first day back, a coworker awkwardly offered condolences. I'm so sorry about your son. I can't imagine. The old Leon would have shut down, changed the subject, unable to talk about it. This Leon said, thank you. Daniel was an amazing kid. He wanted to be a marine biologist. Loved the ocean more than anything. That's beautiful that he had that passion. It was. I'm grateful I got to see it. Got to be his dad. Grateful. Not just grieving. Both. 1 year after Daniel's death, Leon and Teresa hosted a small gathering. Daniel's friends from school. Some family. Daniel's hospice nurse who'd been so kind at the end. They unveiled the Daniel Reeves Marine Biology Scholarship. The first recipient was a 16-year-old girl who wanted to study ocean conservation. Daniel would have loved this, Teresa said, watching the girl accept the award, her eyes shining with the same passion Daniel had. Leon felt tears, but also joy, pride, a sense that Daniel's life mattered, that his dreams, though cut short, could still inspire. That night, Leon and Teresa sat on their back porch. A photo album opened between them, pictures of Daniel throughout his life. This one, Teresa said, pointing to a photo of Daniel at 7, running into ocean waves. This was the best day. He was so happy, Leon agreed. Then he turned to another photo. Daniel at 14, in his wheelchair, still smiling. But this one matters too. Even when he was sick, he still found joy, still loved life. I'm glad we're doing this, Teresa said, looking at the photos, remembering him. For a while, I couldn't. It hurt too much. Me too. But Dr. Brennan was right. Avoiding the memories doesn't make the pain less. It just makes the joy less too. I'd rather feel both. They sat in comfortable silence, turning pages, sharing memories. 2 years after Daniel's death, Leon was doing well. Not moved on, he hated that phrase. But living, working, engaged with life. The grief was still there. Always would be. Some days it hit hard. Daniel's birthday, the anniversary of his death, random moments triggered by a song or a smell or a memory. But Leon had learned to ride those waves instead of drowning in them, to feel the grief fully without getting stuck in it. He volunteered at a local aquarium, teaching kids about marine life. It was a way to honor Daniel, to keep his passion alive. One afternoon, a 10-year-old boy asked him, "Why do you love the ocean so much?" Leon thought about how to answer. "My son loved it. He wanted to be a marine biologist. He died before he could do that, but I can keep his dream alive by teaching others." That's sad. It is. But it's also beautiful. Because his love for the ocean doesn't die just because he did. It keeps going. Through me. Through kids like you who learn about it. The boy thought about this. "I want to study marine biology too." Leon felt his chest tighten with emotion. Then Daniel would be really happy. That night, Leon wrote in his journal, something he still did occasionally. 2 years. Some days I still can't believe it's been 2 years since Daniel died. The grief is different now. Not smaller exactly, but clearer. I can feel it without being consumed by it. I'm grateful for his curiosity and joy and spirit. Grateful that I got to be his father, even though it ended too soon. I still wish I'd played catch with him when he asked. Still wish I'd been more present in the early years. But I'm learning to hold those regrets without letting them define everything. Daniel taught me so much. About resilience. About finding joy even in suffering. About loving the world and wanting to protect it. I honor him by living those lessons. By being present now. By caring about what he cared about. By being grateful for what I had instead of destroyed by what I lost. The grief will never go away. I'll miss him forever. But I can miss him and still live. Can carry him with me while moving forward. That's what I'm learning to do. Not moving on from Daniel, but moving forward with him. In my heart. In my memories. In the ways he changed me. That feels right. That feels like love. Dr. Brennan told Leon at one of his appointments that he was in normal bereavement now. What's the difference? Normal bereavement is when you can integrate the loss, can remember with both pain and joy, can engage with life while still grieving. Complicated grief is when you're stuck, when the acute pain doesn't lessen, when you can't function. Leon paused. I was stuck for so long. But the road trip helped me learn to be grateful instead of just guilty. It shifted something. I'm glad you took that trip. Me too. It changed everything. That night, Leon looked through his journal from the road trip, read what he'd written. I can't undo the moments I missed, but I can be grateful for the moments I did have. It was still true. Would always be true. Leon Reeves had lost his son. That pain would never fully go away. But he'd also had his son, had witnessed his joy and curiosity and love. And now, through the scholarship, through the students who studied marine biology, through the conservation work done in Daniel's name, his son's passion lived on. Daniel wasn't forgotten, wasn't erased by death. He was remembered, honored, celebrated, not through guilt or frozen bedrooms or endless replaying of what should have been different, but through gratitude, through action, through living in a way that honored what Daniel had cared about. That was the lesson Leon had learned on that road trip, that grief and gratitude could coexist, that you could miss someone terribly while still being thankful you knew them. That loss didn't have to mean only pain. It could also mean love, memory, legacy. Daniel James Reeves had lived the life he had loved the ocean, had dreamed of making a difference. And through his father's journey from complicated grief to integrated bereavement, through scholarships and conservation and education, Daniel was still making a difference, still living in the ways that mattered most. In memory, in legacy, in love. And Leon, who had once been so stuck in grief he couldn't imagine ever feeling anything else, had learned to carry his son with him, not as a weight that crushed him, but as a light that guided him, to gratitude, to purpose, to a life lived in honor of the boy who'd taught him so much about joy and curiosity and caring for the world. That was the gift. Hard won, painful, but real. And Leon carried it with him. Every single day. For Daniel. For himself. For the time they'd had together. And for all the years that came after, when Daniel's spirit lived on through the work of those he'd inspired. Even if he never knew them. That was enough. More than enough. It was everything.